Welcome to the Through the Limb podcast. It's been a while, been about a week or two. I took a little bit of a break. I started working a lot, and then I just had no motivation or energy when I was off in the mornings to do it because it took a lot to get it done or to get set up for this episode. So we're back. School starting next week. Hopefully, I might be back in the studio. Maybe we'll see how it goes if the professor will let me. If not, we'll be in here until I can figure it out. But a lot has happened. We're going to start off with JJ McCarthy's injury. He's out for the year. Now, I personally wasn't high on him. I didn't think he was going to be that good, but it's a shame to see. He did solid in the preseason, but from what I gathered, it was they went in for just a scoping of the knee, just to clear some stuff up. A lot of athletes get it done sometimes. And it when he went in, the doctor went in there, it was a lot worse, and they ended up having to completely redo the meniscus, and it was this was, I don't think it was bad enough that he couldn't play, but it was like it would affect him long term, so because they keep referencing it's best to give him a long-term career, so like it was like something that was going to linger, so they might as well nip it in the butt now. What this does, though, it allows Sam Darnold to play. And I'm higher on Sam Darnold. I like him. I'm just going to go to our next part with we preview the Vikings. It's an interesting team. I mean, they've lost Nelly Hunter. They lost Osborne. Looking at this now, one of the people on here that they have projected to start is Jalen Naylor. And I'm going to look him up because I have no earthly clue who that is. But, like, that's not good. It just looks rough. And maybe this is best for the Vikings that McCarthy doesn't play because I don't think it's a team that would help him up. Jalen Naylor is a guy, when was he drafted? He's 25, 6 foot tall. His nickname's Speedy. He's a 6th round pick in 2022. He had a solid 2022 season for 9 catches, but he didn't really play much last year. So that's how short it is. You have Brandon Powell, and that's about it. That of like starting experience. Then you look at the offensive line. You have Christian Darrisaw, great lineman. Garrett Bradbury, great center, or good center. Blake Brandell, solid guard. I mean, the left side of the line is going to be good. Then you reach into some unknowns with Brian O'Neill and Ed Ingram. There's a little bit solid, but I mean, you still could get a lot better. They have Devin Quisenberry and Don Risner, who I expect, and Dan Feeney, who I expect all to eventually move up. So if David Quisenberry will probably end up starting at right tackle a decent bit. Don Risner is definitely starting at right guard because he's one of the better right guards in the league. He was one of the higher paid right guards, and I think he made like a Pro Bowl and All-Pro within the past few years. So I think he'll make it, and he'll end up starting. The tight end, this is where it gets rough, right? So you're looking at this. They have Robert Tonyan, who's like a few years removed from his Pro Bowl season. Yeah, Pro Bowl, when he was with Green Bay. Then you talk towards ACL, and he's not been the same since. They have N'Keal Harry listed as a tight end. That'd be very interesting. But the only guy they have is TJ Hawkinson. But he's going to be out for a bit due to him tearing his ACL towards the end of the last regular season. So they're down him, which I think is why N'Keal Harry is going to get some run at tight end, which makes it very interesting, right? Because I think Robert Tonyan will end up starting because of the experience. Quarterback, so Sam Darnold, Nick Mullins, Jaron Hall, and Matt Corral. Would not be shocked if Jaron Hall got cut. Nick Mullins is always going to have a place as a solid backup in the league. Matt Corral did good in the XFL or US XFL, something like that, the spring league. But and he has a lot of talent. He was really good in college. I think his last year at Ole Miss was just because he had nothing around him, and so I don't think it portrayed him well enough. But I think he has a solid shot to make a roster or be on the practice squad. I think he personally makes it on the practice squad, and they cut Jaron Hall because Nick Mullins is going to be valuable backup. Sam Darnold, I mean, and we'll pull up his stats here. because I think he can be. Look, that Jets team that he was a part of was just bad, dude. That was, I mean, they're just now getting their offensive line fixed. So you look at that and you're like, okay, there was like a meme where it was like he's seeing ghosts. Like he's seen ghosts because the offensive line was so bad, he didn't know where he was going to get hit at. And so it just ended up being this really bad thing. And look at ESPN and see if they have, no. They do have N'Keal Harry, though. He's kind of listed between a tight end and a receiver. But let's look. I want to look at his stats real quick. I mean, he had 17, a lot of turnovers. He turns the ball over a lot. That's my similar to Will Levis, where he kind of turns it over a lot. It's concerning, but he has the arm talent. His last year in Carolina, he had 7 touchdowns, 3 picks, and so I think in 6 games, I think he's going to be solid. The difference is he's never played with a guy like Jay Jettis, right? Like he's never had Justin Jefferson, and then also Jordan Addison. Justin Jefferson's a top 5, maybe top 3 receiver in the league. He's never had that before. So, you give him that. You just got to throw the ball up, and Jay Jettis is going to come down and get it. The depth at that position could say Jay Jettis goes down again, and if Addison for his offseason troubles does not play, it's Jalen Naylor and just a buttload of other guys. I think they go out and they pick up a guy that gets cut. Because there'll be a few veterans that get cut that will belong in the league. At running back, it's very solid, right? And I like this group. Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler. Ty Chandler had a great season, great end to his year. Him and Zamir White, both were guys that kind of came on as the season wore on, which was very good for their respective teams. And we'll look at the Colts and the Raiders next. And we'll look at the Broncos. So you look at Ty Chandler. He's a 5th-round pick out of North Carolina. He was at Tennessee for a while. He had 461 yards, 4.5 yards per carry. I like it. He came on strong towards the end. I get Kyron Williams vibes from him. So I think it'll be very good to see him, him still hold that backup spot. Now you go to the defense. Jonathan Bullard, Harrison Phillips, Jerry Terry. They bring in Jonathan Grenier. I think is a great pass rusher. Blake Cashman, solid linebacker. Ivan Pace Jr., very solid linebacker. And Andrew Van Ginkel, who was a very solid linebacker as well. Then the secondary, which gets very good. And they've tragically lost Kyron Jackson. Stephon Gilmore, Harrison Smith, Cameron Bynum, Shaq Griffin, and Byron Murphy Jr. Then you also have Jay Ward. And then they also have Lewis Seen. He's not on here, but he is on the roster. He's been playing. And then Fabian Moreau. They also drafted Dallas Turner to be a pass rusher. That's huge. Because I think Dallas Turner, I wanted the Falcons to draft him. I think he's going to be a really good pass rusher. Brother's got an insane motor. He's going to be a part of that run of pass rushers from Alabama that were just really good moving forward. And then, special teams, they got Willard Carr from Alabama. I don't think it's going to be that good of a team. I think they're going to be in every game, but I don't think it's going to be that good of a team. And so we're going to move forward with the Colts. It's a shame to see him go down like that, though. The Colts are going to be big because, they drafted Josh Downs. The fact that Josh Downs made it to the 3rd round is absurd. Then they also have Adonai Mitchell. So, I mean, you have Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman Jr., Josh Downs, and Adonai Mitchell. I think Adonai Mitchell and Michael Pittman Jr. are going to be the number 1s. Alec Pierce and Josh Downs will be the number 2s and 3s. And then pretty much, Laquan Treadwell can make it. Greg Ward, I believe, belongs in the league. He's a really solid receiver. Anthony Gold's going to make it. He's a 5th-round pick. It looks good. Offensive line's a little bit rough. Bernard Raymond, there was a point where they lost Andrew Luck, and then for 3 years where they had arguably the best offensive line, and then guys got hurt. They still have some of the guys. They have Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly, Will Fries is still what a name, and Brandon Smith. At tight end, it gets a little bit more tough because they just lost Jalili Wood, Drew Ogletree's there, Mo Alley Cox. Mo Alley Cox is getting up there in age, I think, and then Kylan Granson. So it's going to be interesting. Then you go to quarterback. And I like this quarterback. I really love this quarterback room. You have Anthony Richardson, high upside, sky-high talent, right? But can he stay healthy? That issue's been following him since Florida. He struggles with health. And also, it's a guy where he needs to play, kind of. Now, some guys that are this raw as Anthony Richardson can just click and, learn. But I think he needs to play. They got Joe Flacco as a backup. Sam Ehlinger still there, and then Keaton Slovis. Keaton Slovis had it for a while. For his first 2 years at USC, looked very good, and then he just fell off his third year. He transferred to BYU, and then injuries derailed people's careers, and it was very sad. So then you have Jonathan Taylor and Trey Sermon. Trey Sermon belongs to play, deserves to play. I think he's a very solid running back. Now they're gonna miss Zach Moss, but Jonathan Taylor is one of the best running backs in the league. I still think he will be. Moving to the defense, and I think this is where the defense gets good, right? You have Kwity Paye and Latu, okay? Both former first-round picks. I think they'll end up playing across from each other. Then they have DeForest Buckner, one of the best D tackles in the league. Samson Ebukam is a very solid pass rusher. Tyquan Lewis, very solid pass rusher. And then Raekwon Davis, very solid nose guard. Then you have Zaire Franklin, one of the better linebackers in the league. I think he almost led the league in tackles. Then you have Julian Blackman, a great safety. Jalen Jones, Kenny Moore. They drafted Jalen Simpson and Micah Abraham. That's a little bit more hit or miss. They spent their first pick on Latu. They went second round of Dunny Mitchell and Josh Downs, and Josh Downs in the third round. I think those were big moves because I think really they needed depth at receiver. Dunny Mitchell can be a guy that you're not really, you don't know what's going to happen. Now Josh Downs is hurt, but they're a little bit more projects. I think Dunny Mitchell's a little thin, but I think he'll be very good for the team. I think this team, if Anthony Richardson's healthy, I think they'll be very solid. That division though is tough. I think. I don't know if they're in the. Are they the NFC? AFC. So yeah, they're in that tough division with the Titans, Jaguars, and Texans. I mean, that's gonna be one of the better sleeper divisions, I think. And you just gotta see what's gonna happen, right? It's gonna be health permitted, and if they can figure out some help in the secondary. But I think offensively they're gonna be really good, right? If Jonathan Taylor can stay healthy. Moving forward, we're gonna go to the Broncos, because breaking news happened today. Bo Nix was announced the starting QB for the season, which is huge, right? Bo Nix is announced the starter. They have Jarrett Stidham and Zach Wilson. I think they keep all three. They drafted Troy Franklin, and I saw something where some of the guys were like, he may get cut. He played at Oregon. You kind of keep him there with Bo Nix, at least for the year, just to try and see. The issue with Troy Franklin is his motor and motivation, but you got to keep him there, right? Because the connection there, they kind of fueled that team at Oregon, so you just got to see if that will translate over to the NFL. Cortland Sutton's the receiver, Josh Reynolds, Tim Patrick. It's not that great of a receiving core. They have Marvin Mims Jr., but it's not that good, right? They brought in Ben Powers, the left guard. Garrett Bowles is a very solid left tackle. Luke Wattenberg's solid. Quinn Mertz is very good right guard. And then Mike McGlinchey is a very good right tackle. And then at tight end, they've got three solid tight ends here. When you look at Lucas Kroll, Greg Dulcich, and Adam Troutman, they're very just solid, serviceable tight ends. Running back, they have Javonte Williams, Jalen McLaughlin, who I think are going to be great running backs for the team. And then they have Samaje Perine as well. Moving to the defense, they have Zach Allen, DJ Jones, John Franklin Myers. Nothing really stands out on the page here defensively, but they always seem to make a solid defense, right? You have Baron Browning, Cody Barton, Alex Singleton's going to be solid, Jonathan Cooper, Patrick Surtain's a top 5, arguably top 3 corner in the league. And then outside of that, it's a very young secondary, very, very young secondary. They drafted Drew Sanders, and the hope is for him to play linebacker a little bit for them. And so is Jonah Ellis to play a little bit of outside linebacker. But they're really hoping offensively for Troy Franklin to develop into a good number 2, maybe a number 1. Because I'm not sold on Cortland Sutton being your number 1 receiver. And defensively, they just uncover some guys that end up playing really well. I don't know how good this team is going to be. Obviously, they're going to be similar to last year, but I think offensively they'll be better. Defensively, I think they'll be a little bit worse. They let some guys go. They don't have the ball hawks in the secondary that they did. They lost Justin Simmons to the Falcons. So, and, Bo Nix, this is a move where he's going to have to play the whole year. You can't pull him out, right? Or you're just going to destroy the confidence of the team moving forward. Now, on to our last team, the Raiders. And it was announced that I think they announced their starter. It was Gardner Minshew. Then Aiden O'Connell's going to be the backup. I think Gardner Minshew deserved this. I think he's going to be one of the better he's going to be a very solid quarterback in the league. Receiver-wise, it's very solid, right? You have Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker. He's a sneaky, solid receiver. Jalen Gutton and DJ Turner. At left tackle, they have Mike Colton Miller on here as a starter. Andreas Pete is on the roster. He was one of the better tackles in the league. I think he gets the starting spot. You have Jackson Powers Johnson, who they drafted in the 2nd round, and then Cody Whitehair, who I think is another solid left guard. You have Ben Brown and Andre James as your centers. Looking at right guard, Dylan Parham, solid. He's okay. And then at right tackle, Thayer Munford Jr. and DJ Glaze. DJ Glaze was a 3rd round pick. He probably will end up getting some run time. These are some teams I don't know much about the AFC, but some news has come out of them, and they will be important down the episode. And then at tight end, Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer and Harrison Bryant. Great tight ends. I think Brock Bowers is going to be like the Sam Laporta of this year. I know they had Michael Mayer, but Brock Bowers is such a generational talent at tight end. I think he fell because of the Kyle Pitts experiment, but because you didn't want to take him that high and then he'd be a bust. But I think if Brock Bowers can stay healthy, it's going to be a great tight end. At running back, it's going to be they need Zamir White to keep producing like he did last year. If he falters at all, they're screwed. Because you have Alexander Mattison and Amir Abdullah. Both were backs at Minnesota at one point. I think they played together for a year. But Zamir White, there's no depth behind Zamir White. They're just solid, it's an all-right group. Defensively, you have Max Crosby, Tyree Wilson, who they spent a first-round pick on, Byron Young, Christian Wilkins, who they just brought in, Robert Spillane, Jack Jones, who had a great debut with the team when he signed. Marcus Epps is a very solid safety. Trayvon Moehrig, a very solid free safety. Nate Hobbs, good nickelback. And so, and then they also drafted Tommy Etchenberg at middle linebacker. This looks like a very solid defense, right? And it's to help make up for the struggling offense, right? Because they didn't really draft anybody. No one really fell to them. I think this year would be the year that they kind of try to get one of those top guys, Jalen Milroe, Carson Beck, Dylan Gabriel, Jackson Dart, cats like that are going to play and be one of the top quarterbacks in college football right now. I don't think this team's going to be that good. I think they'll be in it and they'll surprise some guys, but I just don't think they'll be that good. Moving forward, Mathew Judon went to the Falcons for a 3rd round pick. And I want to look at the Falcons roster here, because this made the Falcons, I think, the division favorites, because they also signed Justin Simmons. Mathew Judon does not want an extension. He wants to earn one, right? So outside the lack of receivers on the offense, they have Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Ray McCloud. Ray McCloud's going to start. right? Like that brother was just a returner for the 49ers, and he's about to start at receiver. So maybe they pick somebody up when he gets cut. The offensive line, they have one of the better offensive lines than Jake Matthews. Matthew Bergeron is going to get some more run time this year. Drew Dalman's a very solid center. Chris Lindstrom's one of the better guards in the league. And then you have Caleb McCarthy, very solid right tackle. Tight ends, you have Charlie Warner and Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts at some point's got to show his potential. If not, they're going to have to get rid of him. But looking at this defense, right, like you needed Mathew Judon because you had no one that really was a pass rusher, right? You had Lorenzo Carter, but he hasn't been the same since his Achilles tear. Grady Jarrett hasn't been the same since he tore his ACL. David Onamata is very solid, but you needed that. That's why I wanted them to get a pass rusher in the draft, a premier pass rusher, a guy that's going to be elite. They got that. Mathew Judon's been insane. A guy that just harasses quarterbacks and racks up sacks. It brings a lot of pressures. So last year he played 9 games. He played 4 games and he had 4 sacks. The year before he had 15.5, and then the year before 12.5. He has 66 sacks and a half sacks in his career. He's a 4-time Pro Bowler. I think he's going to be really good for the Falcons. I mean, he's going to have not much help, but I think he'll be an elite pass rusher moving for them. And then Justin Simmons being there helps solidify the back end of that secondary. So you don't have to really start Richie Grant, or DeMarco Helms. And they kind of just need D'Alford to be a solid nickelback and Mike Hughes to be well. And the defense is going to be very solid to help make up for the lack of offense. Moving forward, we'll talk about Steph Curry's legacy because a lot of it on my TikTok feed has been Steph Curry. Steph Curry, because they just won gold about a week or two ago, which was huge. And he played great down in the last 2-3 games, something they needed badly. And so I think he goes down as probably at least top 10 player of all time. Putting him top 5 would be tough, but he is by far the greatest point guard of all time. By far. He changed the game, and not just like, point guard can be, a scorer and all that. No, he revolutionized the game. The game that the NBA 15 years ago to today is 2 different leagues. Night and day. They shot, I think, 12 threes a game. They shoot now in the 30s. And he, MVP, triple doubles, all-time 3-point leader. He's small, so he kind of just showed that even though you're small, you can play basketball. You just got to be really good at your craft, especially shooting. If you're a small player, you've got to be really good to shoot the ball. And he did it. And so I think I think he's going to go down. I personally have him in the top 10 of all time. And I think he's knocking on the door of top 5. If he finishes out, if he gets another title, he's in it. But I don't know I don't know if they'll get back there. But if he just can, he has he's in the MVP conversation for another year, and he just goes nuts for like 2 more years. I think he is 5th best. And I'll talk about on a future episode about like who I have in my top 10. But yeah, I think he's one of the better. I mean, I saw something that was like Chris Paul and him. It's night and day. Chris Paul hasn't won squat. He didn't change the game. Now, yes, he does make players better around him, but so does Steph Curry. Because you look at it, I mean, those rosters where they guys were just no names. Jordan Poole, he'll make better. Kuminga, Moody. The team's better when he's on the court. And Chris Paul, don't get me wrong, I think he's like the 3rd best, maybe 5th best point guard of all time. It's just he hasn't won anything. Like, it's just not won anything. When he's been on good teams, he ends up getting hurt. And now he's on the Spurs. He's not even trying to win this year. He just wants to be a mentor on a insanely young and talented Spurs team who I think are going to be dominant for years to come. Kind of how he was with that Thunder squad. I think everyone forgets he spent a year with the Thunder, and there was, I think it's 2020, and he kind of helped make Shaw into the player he is, Shea to the player he is today, right? Because of him being able to pass. Shea was more of a 2-guard when he met Chris Paul. Now he's a point guard, right? Triple-double machine. Great offensive weapon. And I think you have to credit Chris Paul for that because of everything he brought in the leadership right? Steph Curry is just, you have to pick him up full court most of the time. And if he gets hot, he's hot, and it's dangerous and it's scary. There's nothing you can do to stop him, and it's just out of control. And he just goes nuts. And I've seen him where this game 4 against the Celtics, he pretty much ended the series. Yes, they went on, it was like a 6-game series, or 6 or 7. But he just took over from that game. He looked at one of the guys, I think his name's Carson Edwards, and he goes, "This is the last game you're going to win." It's just that where he's gotten more fired up as he's gotten older. And he's just smarter. If he doesn't injure his hand that 1 year, I think he's got an even better looking career. But we're talking about an all-time great here, who I think as a player is not better than LeBron, but as a career I think he's about tied. Which I'm tired of people saying LeBron's better than Jordan. As a player, Jordan's better than LeBron. Career-wise, LeBron's better than Jordan because he's played longer, and has retired twice. But yeah, I think Steph Curry's, I think his legacy is going to go down as a guy that made basketball fun to play, revolutionized the game, 2-time MVP, 4-time champion, and just an insane shooter, the greatest shooter we'll probably ever see, making shots that just should not go in, should not be made, and him just going nuts on teams. So moving forward with that, Caitlin Clark, and I'm going to post the video of them talking about it.
She's just got a bounce. Here's Clark back to Boston. Back inside. Oh, good ball movement. And it's Boston. Here is Clark off the screen, launches, and drops a triple. Really physically demanding.
No, it is extremely difficult. Just one, not only physically, but also mentally staying in it.
Team USA earning her first. You can imagine she'll likely be part of future teams, probably with the player she's guarding right now, Caitlin Clark, who finds Nalissa.
Man.
A 20-year veteran, Diana Taurasi, dialing back. With the 4th fastest pace of play, and that suits Caitlin Clark.
Have to be able to pay attention to her, really get out in transition, see if you can get some early quick buckets.
Oh, Clark hits
as well to shoot and be in your game.
Indiana comes up with a turnover. Here is Clark. This time it's Smith with a foul. Here's Mitchell. Oh, behind the defense. Half turnovers. They've had 7 here in the 3rd quarter. Clark step back on a deep 2. Oh, gets the shooter's touch. Cross court Clark. Does Clark see the clock? Handoff Samuelson. Who buries a 3? Clark off the screen, finds some space, and delivers. Clark seeing 2, bounces. Oh, beautiful. Teams get past Clark. Mitchell, corner 3, connects. Clark sizing up Cunningham. Here is Mitchell. Another 3. Wants to settle things down here for the moment. He gets the step on Cunningham. Clark gets to the rim. This is Smith. Clark cutting. It's Mitchell with the finish.
Gotta put that in. So, of them talking about how, like, Diana Taurasi and them kind of talked on her as there's this big adjustment coming. When, Diana Taurasi's like, I can't wait to kick a rookie's ass and stuff like that. And you're looking at it and you're just like, oh, she's, it's not the same. She was very hyped up in college, right? And she comes to the league and she has, like, a rough 2 games. But afterwards, she's gone nuts. She dropped a triple-double. She's about to break the all-time season assist record, rookies and, as a whole. Not even just a rookie. She already owns a rookie record. She's leading them to the 7th seed. And this is a Fever team that is bad. This is a Fever team. This is really has no business kind of being around at all. Now, Kelsey Mitchell's played great, and Aaliyah Boston's kind of I can't really tell you if she's a bust. I don't like her production as a first-round pick, as a first overall pick. in that league 2 years ago. But you look at that team; they're better than Chicago Sky. This is a Fever team that's had the top 3 picks in the past 4 years, right? So you look at it, and I think Kelsey Mitchell needs to get some credit for how well the team's doing because she's come along and played really well. But Caitlin Clark, 17.8 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 steal. Now, if we can pull up her shooting stats, she's not overly efficient, right? 41% from the field, 33% from 3, and that's a bit of an issue. But she is shooting 83% from the free throw line, which is a very good sign. She has to take a lot of shots. She attempts an insane amount of shots, 13.4. That's the second most on the team behind Kelsey Mitchell, who is a little bit more efficient. It's because Aaliyah Boston isn't much, right? So you look at that team, and the hate is insane. And she's like, have you gotten any, mentorship from any of the veterans? She goes, no, I would love to. It's because they don't like that this league's been around for so long, and they wanted attention, but nobody was captivating. Like MJ Magic and Larry Bird made you want to watch the NBA. No one in the WNBA really made you want to watch it outside of Sabrina Ionescu, but she didn't have the wowness that Caitlin Clark has. Caitlin Clark looks like the female version of Steph Curry. Now, I'm not saying she's going to be Steph Curry, but she looks, the way she can shoot the ball, facilitate, she's smaller. She looks good. She looks like a very good player. I think the hate on her is unwarranted. I'm tired of seeing Diana Taurasi and all this. They whooped the team. They won by 20, and she's waving to the crowd or whatever, and a girl just runs up to her and bumps her. What's the point of that? She's bringing the league to relevancy, somewhat relevancy. And then you see all these people saying, I hate the new fans, they're getting overcritical, it's just a tough league. No. Caitlin Clark's your cash cow. I know it's tough to swallow because the league's been around for 20 years, but no one really cared about the WNBA. And not to discredit Angel Reese, I think she's going to play a vital role, but I think you're seeing this new crop. There's a girl for USC that's going to be good, and then you have the girl for UConn that's going to be good, where they're going to kind of come in and they're going to raise the league, and they're going to leave the older people behind. Now, Brianna Stewart's going to come up. This is big for Asia Wilson because that woman is a great basketball player, a very, very good basketball player who is helping shine a light on how good she is, who I think she's the best one. And then you got the girl, I'm not going to say her name, that plays for Dallas, who kind of got left off the Team USA, right? And she's brought up, and this kind of this alluded to the bigger picture that kind of you can bring Caitlin Clark in, and she goes, it's too much politics. And it is. Diana Taurasi's 42 years old, has no business being on that team. Has none. But it's because of her name. But no one, Diana Taurasi talked all that crap, and she's 0-4 against Caitlin Clark. She hasn't won a game. So she hasn't kicked her ass. Caitlin Clark's kicked her ass because they're both guards. And Diana Taurasi's kind of just been silent. And it's kind of, at some point, you got to look at Caitlin Clark and be like, wow, she is really good. They're pushing Angel Reese's narrative so hard. But if you haven't watched the games, you think, oh, okay, she is putting up solid stats, right? 14 and 11. But then you watch the game, she misses so many shots that it's alarming. And she's just there. She's a bigger player in the WNBA. She's just got long arms to where she can just grab her own rebounds. She misses, grab it, blocks, grabs it. And so it's kind of insane. She's not even the leading scorer. She's the third best scorer, 13.6 points, 12 rebounds a game. That's very solid. But you look at her stats. She's shooting under 40% from the field, 20% from 3, 73% from the free throw line. Those are horrific stats. If she wins Rookie of the Year over Angel Clark, it's because Caitlin Clark. They didn't want Caitlin Clark to win, and that's the stats don't look good. And she's not even leading her team. Caitlin Clark's leading the Fever. She has put that team on her back, elevated Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston to make them very solid players, and she's carrying that team. What has Angel Reese done? She ain't carrying nobody. Her and Mariana Mayberry are shooting under 40%. And I don't know if that's 38% from the field is solid in WNBA, but in basketball terms, that's bad. That's very bad. I think Angel Reese is going to have a great career, and she can help bring up the WNBA. But them pushing her down everyone's throat is kind of just gotten exhausting because she isn't that great. I mean, Caitlin Clark can shoot the lights out of the stadium. Sabrina Ionescu walked so Caitlin Clark could run in a way, because Sabrina Ionescu could shoot the lights out of a stadium, but she don't have the long-range sniping that Caitlin Clark has. Caitlin Clark can pull it from the logo and dome it consistently. Sabrina Ionescu can go like 1 for 10 from the logo, and that's still pretty good. But it's nowhere like she's a consistent threat. You don't have to pick up Sabrina Ionescu full court. I think Sabrina Ionescu is that part of that wave that's of youth talent that's going to elevate the WNBA. Maybe not to, NBA status, but where you'll be like, you're willing to watch a game. Because beforehand, you weren't going to watch it. I mean, I remember watching some of the WNBA games and watching open layups being missed. And I'm being like, why is this being thrown down my throat? But you're looking at some of these newer girls, younger girls, Asia Wilson, girl from Dallas, Caitlin Clark, and Sabrina Ionescu, and be like, these are solid, these are really good basketball players who could do some damage to the NBA. But there are stars of their league, superstars, and I think deserve credit. Caitlin Clark deserves a lot of credit. She brought a lot of fans to the league and has brought a lot of money. Now, still, they're on a negative profit, but they are growing. I think expansion will be brought to the league because of her, and they need ones because there are like late first-round picks, early second-round picks being cut off rosters because they don't have enough spaces, which is wild, right? Because it's really just the best of the best. You need to kind of bring it out, right? But I don't think there's enough solid talent to be in the WNBA to break it out, because there's going to be a team that's just horrific, not Pistons horrific, I mean White Sox. Not only think White Sox horrific, just downright bad, dude. Like some people who have no business playing pro basketball, but you're going to have to flush those people out to get all the talent in, right? So that's my rant on the Caitlin Clark thing. We're going to go quickly over UFC 305. DePluce beat Adesanya for that title. It's the first time that he's lost in the middleweight to someone not named Pereira. It's his second loss outside of Pereira. He took like a year off to fight, and then he just got the title shot against DePluce. I think we're seeing the Conor McGregor kind of roll with him, where he went up and then he kind of just he takes too much time off. I don't think he deserved the fight. He was the only person that made sense in the division, but he hadn't fought in a year, so I don't think he deserved it. But he is knocked out. Second time he's been knocked out in MMA. And outside of Pereira, and we thought Pereira was just his boogeyman, but he's shown vulnerability, and I think it's because he just hasn't fought, and I don't think he's taken it as seriously when he was up and coming. Everyone's like, dude, this guy's gonna be scary. He's just not the same guy he was 4 or 5 years ago. He's two completely different guys. He's kind of quirky and weird. He's not a badass. He's not as creative and just insane with the shots. He's more confined and trying to be more refined with it. And it's like, dude, you were wild and it worked. His biggest thing is when he's fighting Kevin Gastelum for the middle title, and he goes, "I'm prepared to die." That Izzy's gone. That Izzy is not here anymore. I think the middleweight division has left him. He can't go up because light heavyweight's got his boogeyman. Which, funny enough, the boogeyman's coming back down. The boogeyman's going to fight three weight classes in the span of 2 years. He's going to fight heavyweight, light heavyweight, and middleweight. He has announced that he's going down to middleweight. Talked to him and DePluce are going to fight. I don't know. Pereira. I'm gonna look up. I don't know how to spell his name. I'm just gonna look up what's his face and then, yeah. He hasn't fought since September. It was almost a year. Alex Pereira is going to fight Khalil Roundtree, who dude is insane, for the light heavyweight title, right? So he wins that. Okay. He's then said he wants to go down and fight middleweight. Alex Pereira, I believe, will go down as one of the best. He is 11-2. He's not fought much, but the brother is scary. No one wants to face him. the heavyweight division is gatekeeping him from moving up because they know that he's so big. Like, he's cutting a lot of weight just to make light heavyweight. He is a natural heavyweight. They cut a lot of weight to go down to middleweight. And then he was like, I don't want to cut as much weight now. I want to move up to light heavyweight. I did what I did. I chased down Israel Adesanya. I knocked him out. I took his title. What he did when they were kickboxing. And Israel beat him. And he's like, it's over. So he goes up. And he moves up to light heavyweight. And he goes on a run. And he's defending the title, right? He beats Jan Blachowicz. He beats Harry Prohaska. Beats Hill. Beats Harry Prohaska again. And this has all been in the past 4 years, right? 11-2 in 4 years. He's now fighting Khalil Roundtree in October, which is going to be really big. Khalil Roundtree's a guy that is a monster. He's 14-5. Pereira's one loss. Well, 2 losses came against. No, he didn't lose. I don't think he's lost outside of Israel in the UFC. No, his first loss was his first fight in 2015. Then he stops fighting from 2016 to 2020, right? And then Israel Adesanya opens his fat mouth in 2020, and he starts fighting. And he fights once a year. And then 2022, he fights 3 times. And his name, because he fights Andreas something at UFC 228, and he wins TKO. And at this point, it's coming up because Israel keeps referencing this guy that's in a bar in Brazil that beat him, that is a nobody. He left him behind. He's a nobody, right? He beats KOs Andreas, and you're like, it starts coming out, that's the guy. That Pereira guy is the guy that last beat Izzy, and Izzy's rising, and no one thinks he can be beat. So you're like, we need to rush that guy along. Good for Alex because he's ready. And he starts knocking guys out. He's only had 2 fights go to decision. That's against Bruno Silva and then Jan Blachowicz. And Jan Blachowicz is just a mammoth of a man. I mean, that is the Polish monster. So, he's fought all title fights. He's fought in 5 title fights. Jan Blachowicz was him to move up. Then he gets the Yuri fight. Now he's going to fight Khalil Roundtree. And then he's going to go back down and fight Duplessis. Probably in 2 months' time after the fight with Khalil Roundtree. Depending how that fight goes, right? Because if it goes long, it'll be longer. But that guy turns around and he fights 2 months later. So it's going to be huge. And I think Alex Pereira's going to go down as maybe the best all time. Now, moving forward. NFL joint practices. I saw this on the Pat McAfee show. Where there's talks of them trying to integrate more NFL practices, less preseason games. The issue with that is fights happen. And a lot more injuries because you're doing more intensive drills. Then a lot more injuries can happen. I like the joint practices. I would like 2 preseason games because you need those, and then just rest be joint practices. But I think the joint practices should be on TV. Some of them, select few, and then you just go for it from there, right? Because I think that's the best way you conduct it. I like the idea, but I don't think you can get rid of preseason games completely because you need those game reps. You need live reps like that. Joint practices just won't give you them. But I think joint practices are going to be very good evaluating against other teams. But in other teams, get looks at players, see how they fare up in individual drills. But the individual drills can lead to more injuries, so you got to get them game time. But moving forward to that, from that MLB starting pitching rule, right? Fans are getting unhappy, Maurice, by the camera, but teams are getting unhappy with how pitchers won't go for more than 4 or 5, maybe 6 innings. And it's old school fans. If you really look at baseball, you understand why, because the 3rd time through, usually guys are getting rocked. But so you look at that. They're talking about if your pitcher does not make it 6 innings, you lose your DH. And so you just got to rotate guys through or whatever. That's huge. That's huge. Because I think it's a dumb rule. I think the 6 innings is dumb. I think there needs to be incentive. I saw something that's like if the team that pitches the most innings, starting pitchers go the deepest, then you can have them come in and they just get extra draft picks, extra pool money, international money, stuff like that. That kind of. But I think I like giving them an incentive, like the prospect thing that they did. I think you've got to give teams incentive down the road. Be like, if the top 5 teams that pitch the most innings, get an extra draft pick in the first round. Not taking away the DH, because man, that is stupid. That is dumb. That is really, really dumb. So I don't like it at all. I don't like the rule. But moving forward, Group of 5 postseason that was floated around. For Group of 5 teams, and just some teams that want to participate in it that don't make the 12-team playoff, right? Kind of like the NIT tournament. There's so many tournaments in basketball, but the NIT tournament is for teams that don't make the NCAA tournament. No, the NCAA tournament is 64 teams. It's like 80-something, and then it goes on 64, 32, whatever. But I like the idea, especially for Group of 5 schools. There's already the FCS tournament that happens, and James Madison just left it. So I think it's for teams that can just keep playing. It gives them recognition, gives them more eyes on the teams, like to the Tulanes of the world and stuff like that. But I think there'll be 1 or 2 Group of 5 teams that make it. But I like the idea. I think the football needs it. But I hope it doesn't take away the importance of the bowl games, of the specific bowl games, because the certain bowl games, good Lord, had so much just stuff around them where you're like, man, I'm so excited. Now it's just another game. It's what worries me. The college football playoffs, beforehand when it was just 4 teams, it was still big, right? Because you really didn't know. You're playing the Rose Bowl. I think the Rose Bowl should just be the last game you play because it's the freaking Rose Bowl. That is my pet peeve, that the Rose Bowl is not the national championship game. It's the freaking Rose Bowl, dude. They deserve that. That stadium is insane, and it's a great venue. They deserve it, right? It just deserves to be there. But I like it because I think it'll be good for extra games. I think just 12 teams and then another 12-team bracket for the 12 teams that are ranked but are not in the playoffs. I think that's where I think it should go there. I like the idea. Maybe not Group of 5. Maybe Group of 5 just has their own for all non-Group of 5 teams that aren't ranked. But that's about it. Next, moving on. Hassan Redick requested a trade. But he requested a trade, and so he wants out. I think he's going to get out. I think it was a bad trade. I don't understand. I think he should go either to the Rams or the Bears, because I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not a big fan of what he's done. He should have showed up, kind of done the Mathew Judon thing, but he doesn't want to be there for whatever reason. This is a Jets thing that always happens to them. So yeah, he requested a trade. Moving forward, QB rookie report. We're going to start off with Caleb Williams. He looks solid, but I see major, smaller Josh Allen vibes from him. People want to say Mahomes. I don't want to say that too early, but he has the way that he can pop big plays and do things that he just naturally shouldn't. With his arm talent, but he looks turnover heavy, and it looks like he tries to force too many things, kind of like Josh Allen does, and it comes back and bites him. Now again, the brother has insane arm talent. He was running and threw across his body down the sideline for a dot downfield, and that's a great throw. That's Mahomes-esque throw, but it's also a Josh Allen throw. I don't think people give Josh Allen enough credit for his talent, but I think that that team is I don't know. I think I'm not a big fan of him, but he's got talent, man. And as a person, as a player, I think he's too big of an ego. And I think that's where you see with Josh Allen's ego kind of bites him. But the talent, and he may try to force it like Josh Allen, but if he kind of just plays smart, man, he'll be crazy. And he'll have a great year. I don't know if he'll top C.J. Stroud's year, but he'll have a great year. Moving forward, Jaden Daniels looks great. I think he starts game 1. He looks exactly as advertised. But I think he as advertised. I like Jaden Daniels. I think he's going to be a really good running quarterback. I think he's going to do really good. But he looks good with the arm, the running. I mean, he made a great throw on the run, dropping dimes. But I just, the Redskins are the Redskins. Commanders, sorry, but they're them. Who knows how good they're going to be with the roster moving forward. Drake May. Now, Drake May has not looked that good. But I think he's got high upside. He made a great deep throw where his footwork's been an issue, and he resets his feet, and then his footwork gets great, launches the ball downfield. And a ball that should have been caught, that's on the receiver. Joe Milton had a great first game, another rookie, but he had a bad second game. He went like 2 of 10. And I just think Joe Milton's got too much of an arm that Josh Allen tries to force it. And it's like, dude, I know you've got a cannon of an arm, but we don't need to see it. So I think Drake May's not going to play much this year. It's going to be a battle for him and Joe Milton to play. Jacoby Brissett's there, so they're solid. They're in no rush. The team's going to be bad. They're going to need a run. They're going to get a receiver next year in the draft, whoever it's going to be. But yeah. Moving forward, JJ McCarthy's hurt. Michael Penix, we're not going to talk on that. That whole situation's stupid. I don't think Michael Penix belonged to the Falcons. I think he should have gone somewhere. Maybe the Raiders. The Raiders would be good for Michael Penix. And whatever the fallout is in Atlanta, I think you need to look at the Raiders. But going to the Denver Broncos for the last little bit, right? Bo Nix looks really good. He plays inside the system, makes great throws. He's a leader. He's smart. Brother played 5 years of football, college football, and I think he's really good. I think that's good that they brought Troy Franklin in. I like what he's done. I didn't know how much it'd translate over, but he's great pocket presence. He can create something out of nothing. We look at from Auburn to Oregon. Dude was just creating something out of nothing. As a great quarterback. I think he'll be the third best quarterback in this draft. Probably second. It depends how Caleb Williams does. Caleb Williams is either going to do really good or really bad. There's not going to be a happy medium with Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, of course, can be day one starter. We're going to have 3 rookies start game 1. Michael Penix and JJ McCarthy and Drake May are not going to start. So 3 out of the 6 first-round quarterbacks aren't going to start, but the 3 that are guys where you're like, yeah, they're going to be really good. Outside of Michael Penix. Michael Penix would be on the Raiders right now and he'd start. Hands down. Hands down. Like, there's no debate about that. But that's the end of today's episode. I'm going to have a guest on here eventually. And Carmine will be here, but there's a lot of stuff going on with him. But yeah, thank you for watching. See you next time, and hopefully in the studio.